Hello friends, this is going to just be a quick video showing a little bit of experimenting with some different plastics and synthetic dyes. I'm going to test it on this purple haired OMG doll because her skin tone is a little too cool for something I can think to use her for. I'd rather leave Royal be as is right now, but 24K DJ is fine to experiment with. I remove her paint and hair off camera. I'm also going to try dyeing these pop figures. This is a Fantastic Beasts chupacabra that my mom got me for Christmas one time. I removed the paint with acetone and left it in warm dye for a few minutes. This is Jacquard iDye in black, in hot water and not boiling water because I didn't have a pot to keep the temperature up. This single piece of pop vinyl took the dye really well. I also tried using the same dye on the Shadow Body Pop that still has the paint on it so I can see how it reacts. The OMG doll is first going into Rit DyeMore Synthetic in chocolate brown for a little while. This also is with just hot water. I tried with just a bit of dye and even added quite a bit more, about half a bottle for this mug. I combined some of both of the dyes and did the pieces that I wanted brown in that. It was a better color, but turned a little too dark for the plastics that absorb the dye. The OMG dolls have vinyl as material that the legs are made out of, and that drank up the dye like nothing else. The rest of the body didn't take it as well. Here's the OMG after dyeing from a few hours in a room temperature dye mix. The vinyl legs took the dye well, so much so that you can see where it wasn't submerged as long. But there was this little sticker on her leg that I didn't see before, and it looks like the dye didn't get under that at all. And the legs must be a different material than the head because it took the dye differently too. For some reason the dye didn't get into most of the face itself, but did dye the jaw and the back of her head. I guess it might have been the acetone from removing the face paint that affected it, but I did wash the head with soap and water after I wiped the paint. Maybe that was keeping it from being dyed? The hair dyed well. The paint on the body is still there, but it also came off and stained other parts of the doll. The arms barely absorbed any dye. The tattoo stickers that she had, I used acetone on them because I didn't know if they were stickers. Those took the dye, but the plastic underneath did not. The hands are probably the same material as the legs because they look and feel identical now. I heard that using acetone on dyed vinyls could even out the color, so I tried that too. Nothing happened on the head or the legs save for some residue. It didn't seem to come off without acetone though, so it might not be something to worry about. The body is ABS plastic, so you shouldn't use acetone on it anyway, but when I did, the dye came right off of it too. However, it does look like there was some dye absorption compared to the original since this color is a little bit different. This is actually more along the lines of what I wanted from the experiment. The arms took the black dye a little more than the brown dye, so now they look kind of dirty. Besides that, it looks like the dye got in unevenly under the factory paint as well, so be aware of that. I didn't have the head fully submerged in dye, so that could also be why. The single piece of pop vinyl looks like it came out great. At least here is good enough for something I can do something else with. For the shadow body, it looks like the paint was dyed as well, but it's a little strange because the white paint and the purple paint came out to almost the same color. Using acetone on the vinyl moves the dye around. Using it on the painted areas removes the dye and the paint because it's acetone. It looks like the dye color and the paint mix a little bit when you do this, so if you want to keep the paint on the figure, maybe mask it off before you dye it. Otherwise, using acetone on the vinyl itself looks like it's taking off most of the dye, but I think the vinyl does absorb some of it to at least tint it a little bit differently than what it regularly looks like. So overall, pop vinyl takes synthetic dye nicely unless you use acetone on it. OMG legs and hands take synthetic dye really well, but the rest of the dolls are not as good. The body can be tinted, but the arms can't. The head probably needs more experiments before I can tell you if it definitely does or doesn't work. I hope this video helped a little bit anyway.